All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I want to call this podcast is I look at everyone as a performer. Now, I know everybody isn't a performer in the sense where you think of it as artistic, I guess you could say. But I do think, for the most part, a lot of people are performing. That doesn't mean it's bad or good. I just don't think they acknowledge how much they're performing or what they're doing is a performance a lot of times. I grew up in two different sides of my family. One, I guess you could say for the most part, was in the tailoring industry, and the other one was in the painting. And I would see both sides. I'd go on a lot of my family members have factories, and I would go visit them. And in the garment industry, and they would be sewing, they would be, pressing, they would be creating all these different types of garments. And I would look at the seamstresses, I say that correctly, just people cutting the materials, all this. It looked like a performance to me. It was amazing, and then it was very artistic because they would create things that I thought was amazing. And then on the other side, even my family members that were painters, and they would end up doing things. They could do wallpaper, they could full finish. Even as time went on, they would do all these things, and I'd even go help them as a young boy, me and my cousin Schmo, and we would go to places and just do side stuff or whatever. Even if we were helping our grandfather doing something in the basement of his home or whatever. But it would start off looking one way, and then they would do something, and it would be a performance. It's almost like a rhythm. It'd be like watching somebody on stage to me. And I know a lot of times when we think of performers, we're looking at actors, right? Or somebody speaking a certain way or doing something, theatrical, I guess. But if you really look at life, in my opinion, everything is kind of theatrical. My mother worked for the archdiocese with a lot of priests and things. And, you get around them, and I'm like, really what they are performers. They're public speakers, and they have to perform in front of a lot of people. They would base a lot of their language around the Bible, and they would pick certain things, which would be like if I picked a certain script or a certain, type of dialogue or whatever I wanted to pitch in front of everybody. Because for the most part, I believe, and I think history shows it, that a lot of things when it comes to religion it was very, very theatrical. Everybody came together, and it was kind of watching somebody teach you something. It was also, it wasn't just about the priest, hypothetically. It was about everybody getting together to gather, talk about things. And, even going to, when I went to Bible camps, studies, or whatever you want to call them. And I would go there, and you'd go to Bible study. You had a lot of your camp was built around religion. And then I would see all these different guys, all these different types of preachers that were there, and all different ages. And they would stand in front of in front of everybody, not only during church, and they would perform. And, as I got older, I ended up making films and everything, which was quite interesting. But as I looked at life in general, because I think what I wanted to do in filming was I wanted to leave reality and live in unreality, or make my reality a different. It was kind of a combination of what I went through in my past and then creating it differently, I guess you could say. And after being around a lot of actors for a substantial amount of time, especially hanging out in places like Improv Olympic, how would I forget the biggest one I used to go to all the time? My God, I'm getting old here. It'll jump to me. But anyways, a lot of different places where a lot of actors hung out, because that's where I would cast them. And, you go hang out. Oh, Second City. Oh, my God. Crazy how you forget certain things. Along with other places, you start to hang out with all these different types of actors, and you discuss certain things. And as time went on, I just realized, for the most part, that I don't care if I go to a tire place, if the guy's pitching me to sell tires, he's performing. Don't get me wrong, it's sales. But the way he performs is what's going to really make a difference, and if he sells more tires or he doesn't. And I think this goes for a lot of us as well. We don't realize a lot of times that we're performing. It could be in front of your friends, family members, and colleagues. there's a performance aspect to us. There's that famous saying that we're all actors and the world's our stage. I think it's something like that. I can't remember all these things. But I'm here to tell you, if you pay attention to your, how you behave, I talk about self-awareness all the time. But if you do want to sometimes maybe, I guess you could say, succeed or take things to the next level, look at what you're truly doing as a performance. I mean, I'm on this podcast. Obviously, I'm performing for you one way or another if you're listening to me, right? If I'm doing my YouTube channel, if you watch me on there, I'm performing. Do you like it or not? Do you like my subject matter or not? Do you like where I'm at? All these things. But I am in a mode, I guess you could say, of performing for you. And I think a lot of people, for the most part, don't realize they're almost all performing. We're always performing. That doesn't mean we're fake. That doesn't mean that we're showy. It doesn't mean we're show-offs. But I do think we have to acknowledge that, especially I would say in the workplace. A lot of times what we're doing, we're performing. You could be performing for your colleagues, showing them certain things, or you could be performing for your boss, or you may be, own your own business and, you're performing to show whoever works for you, or you may have clients. And I see this a lot with my friends with real estate, I guess you could say, because I'm around them during COVID a lot. And, I hear them on the phone, or I see them with certain clients. I don't care if they're renting, buying, whatever the case may be, or when they're dealing with them, and they're performing. They're kind of in a rhythm. They have a lot of things that are memorized. They go through certain things on their, to show people on their computer or their phones when they're in the car with the person. And I just find it quite interesting that, life really, it really is about performing to a certain degree. You don't have to be an actor. You don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be any of those things. But you do have to sometimes acknowledge that what you're doing is putting on a performance. You do. And you may not believe it, or you may think, no, that's all bullshit. I just do this or that. But you'd be shocked at, depending on your situation in your life, the things that come up, you do start to perform into something. You may not even realize it. That can help you or not help you to a certain degree. But usually the better you are, a lot of times, things may work out your way, especially if you have your performance down pat, I guess you could say. So I just wanted to do a kind of a crazy podcast on this because I find it quite amazing the more I kind of step back and look at people's behavior along with mine. When you find yourself, I made a couple films and I was in them, and one of the most daunting things I've ever gone through is trying to edit myself. When you see who you are and how you behave from top to bottom, it's unbelievable. Even down to me looking at myself, it was hard. I'm like, oh my God, I blink too much. You do this. You don't look somebody in the eye all the time, or you look at the way you stand, then you're offensive. Look at your tone. You talk this way and you say this. You're fun, and then you're miserable. Then you're angry. Then you're laughing. It's all these different things. And how you look, even when, you film yourself eating, or just walking. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to do that. And I'm not telling you have to do that. But sometimes we really don't have an idea on who we truly are, or I should say not who we are. We know who we are, I hope you would. But how other people really perceive us. Because the only time we really see us is, say, in a mirror. Or on maybe a video. And if you don't video yourself a lot, or in a photo. You don't even probably know what you look like when you're eating, right? You don't even know how you eat. What are your mannerisms? You may have some type of mindset, but it's kind of like when you think you look a certain way, and then all of a sudden someone takes a photo of you either standing or sitting. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know I had a bald spot. I didn't know when I sat down my waist looked that big. I didn't know I did this. I didn't know I said this when someone says that, and I didn't know I acted like this when that. It's very interesting, life, and how sometimes, you see everybody else, but you never see yourself. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my website, richcelenza.com. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel. I'm not going to be putting up any videos currently. Maybe in the future, just taking a break from there. So if you like my podcast, you could find it everywhere along with YouTube. What else? I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. All right? Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.